I'm with my parents here on Harrold's Dairy. We milk 450 cows 3 times a day, every single day, and our milk goes to Darigold. I have been on the farm for about 10 years, and I'm lucky enough to be the 4th generation in my family that got to work here. So I work every day with my dad and my grandpa, and sometimes that's better than other days, but it is fun that I get to be with my family every single day. We also farm about 1,200 acres in order to grow all the food that the cows need. Quite a variety of color of cows on the dairy. My dad likes to joke that we are equal opportunity. Anybody who wants to milk can have a job. The little tan cows, tan and red, there's actually a good variety right there. Those are called Jerseys. They're getting to be one of the more popular breeds in the United States. They're a physically smaller cow, so they make a little less milk, but their milk has a way higher butterfat percentage. So they're excellent for things like butter and cheese and ice cream and all the delicious stuff we want to eat. So those 3 cows right in a row, the tan one, the almost black one, and the red one, show a pretty good example of all the colors that Jerseys can be. They can all be all the way from just the lightest, almost fawn color to almost totally black. The black and white cows that you see in the line are called Holsteins. Holsteins have been the most popular dairy breed for a long time. They're a bigger cow, they make lots of milk, they just have less fat in their milk. But they do a really good job of making milk and being efficient. What we like to do on our farm is mix the two. So a little black cow like this one right here, 3279, she is actually a Holstein Jersey cross. So when you cross the two, what you generally get is a cow that's solid black. She's mid-sized, solid black, but we really like the cross mix. They're funny, they have a personality, they're pretty gentle to be around, and they seem to be just about the perfect mix of milk production and fat numbers in their milk. So on our farm, every single day, the cows get fresh feed 5 times. So it's a mixture of all the things that the cow needs. We work with a nutritionist whose specific job it is to make rations for cows. You could think of a cow ration like a casserole. Every bite should have everything that the cow needs. There's hay in there that we grow here on our farm, alfalfa, grain for energy, canola for protein. A big part of our ration is spent grain out of a brewery. So when they boil the grain to get the starch to make beer, what's left over is all the protein in the grain, and that's actually great cow feed. So we feed quite a bit of that. There's corn silage that we make here on the dairy where we harvest the whole plant and cut it into pieces just over an inch long. That's a piece of corn silage. And minerals, everything the cow needs. It gets mixed up 1 ingredient at a time in the truck all together until it comes out like this. And then the truck lays it down here in the bunk and the cows come to eat. So 5 times a day means that every few hours fresh feed goes out and the cows have a routine. They like fresh feed when they come back from the parlor. They like fresh feed when they wake up in the morning. Pretty much their whole day is set around what time they get to come eat. So this is our feeding area. It's basically like a cow kitchen. The feeder works over here every day to make the loads of cow feed. The ingredients each have their own slot. Basically the first bin holds the salt and the mineral that are going to end up in the ration. The second bin is ground corn, so the sprout coming out. In another barn across the driveway there's actually a grinder grinding corn right now, and it's coming through that auger and dropping down in the piles, so the cows always get freshly ground grain. And that helps us be a little bit more competitive. We can buy corn off the rail and grind it here and control a little bit more of our feed source. The third bin is where the corn silage goes. He's just about out for the day. When he finishes the last of that, someone will bring him a fresh new load. They start with a fresh load pretty much every day. The next thing down is canola. When you buy canola oil in the store, basically they crush the canola seeds and what's left over, they grind up and turn into cow feed. And then the last 2 bins hold our spent grain that comes out of the brewery. It is wet and heavy, so it needs a little bit of room to spread out, but we go through basically 1 bin a day. Every single morning a truck comes from the brewery and dumps off fresh spent grain for the cows to eat for the day. So this is the milking parlor without any cows in it. I think sometimes it's a good time to see it without any cows in it. It makes a little more sense when the cows get in here. There's just there's a lot going on with cows in it, so it makes sense to see it all one time before. So it's a double 12. It holds 12 cows on each side. What happens is the cows come in the rear of the parlor. That's just a slow, steady ramp to where they build to where they're standing higher than we are. So they walk up that ramp, they come up here, they fill 12 cows come in. You get to see when the cows come in, it's a totally normal routine for them. They do this every single day, 3 times a day, for about 9 months a year, right, on each cow. So they know the routine. They come in, they turn and put their butts against this plate so that their udder is right here at hand height and makes it easier to attach to the machine. So the cows come in, they turn and put their butts against the edge here, and then the milker will come through and sanitize everybody. We just have a thick foam that he sprays on the udders. We clean that off, and then they attach the milking unit. The units are up right now because they just washed. But when they are down, they hang just like that. And when the vacuum is on, the units go up and attach to the cow. So just like that, it hangs there. The milk will go out of the cow, through the units, down the hose, and into the pipeline. And then from the pipeline, it flows down to the end of the parlor where it's pumped up into the milk tank. It's a pretty simple process. It takes about 5 to 8 minutes from start to finish. So when the cows come in here 3 times a day, that means they have about a 15-minute work day. It's not too shabby. The real work in being a cow is not getting milked. It's all the eating and sleeping that they do during the day so that they're in a good mood to make milk when the time comes. They filter it way more at the plant, and on the farm we're just catching the big stuff. So where it goes through is the plate cooler. The plate cooler works just like the radiator in the car. Warm milk, when milk comes out of a cow, it's actually like 100 degrees because that's how warm a cow's body is, right? So warm milk is running on one side of a stainless steel plate and cold water is running on the other. That cold water sucks off about half the heat of the milk. And that way when the milk goes up the pipe and into the tank, it's only about 50-65 degrees. It saves us about half the energy of having to cool that milk. And then what we're left with is water that's about 50 or 60 degrees, but that's perfect because that is the temperature the cows want to drink water at. So we pump the slightly warm water back to the cows and they think they're getting a treat and we get the energy savings. This is our main milk tank. It's a 6,000 gallon tank. So it actually bulkheads through the wall. It takes us up almost this entire building to stick through the wall. So we keep a small portion of it in the cleaner room. The milk truck comes every other day and pumps out the contents of the tank. To store 2 days worth of milk, I actually have to use the big tank and the little tank off to the side. But it just depends on what works best for the milk plants. To have milk every day or every other day, we try to make a big enough load. You know that the trucks are efficient when they go into the plant. We always have a full load in the truck to get some milk. So what's happening right now is that the barns are being flush cleaned. Every day, 2 to 3 times a day, we go through and flush recycled water through the cow barns. It flushes out all the manure, obviously, leaves them with a clean floor. What happens is that water comes here. Where it's going in right there is an underground pit. That pit actually takes up this whole space as a tank. It gets stirred and pumped up to the separator that's sitting up on the wall. The separator is spinning very slowly, and as it spins, the solid portion of the manure stays on top, and the liquid goes through the little holes that are in that drum. What that means is the solid manure comes out the front of the separator, and the liquid portion goes back to a storage pump. We use the liquid portion as fertilizer for our crops, and the solid portion we compost. The compost can then be used as bedding for the cows. We sell it to farmers and nurseries, people all over the place. It allows us to store manure easier and to use it for at the right place at the right time. So this is a brand new baby calf. This calf was just born this morning. It's a little boy. On our farm we raise all the calves, male or female. It doesn't matter because we have the space to do it, and we think it makes more sense for us to keep them all together and treat them all the same. So this calf is actually a Holstein Jersey cross, kind of like what we talked about out in the cows. He's solid black but has a couple white markings on him. He was born this morning and came to the barn with me after he'd been with his mom for about 8 or 10 hours. I would say he was born early this morning. That's because the cow makes way too much milk for this calf to eat by himself. So it's going to be easier on the cow if he comes to the barn. And if the calf was able to drink all the milk himself, which he's not, then there would be no milk left over for us to drink, and it sort of defeats the purpose of being a dairy farmer. So this little guy will spend about the next 60 days with me in the calf barn. They'll come in, they get some vaccinations, just little baby shots to make sure that they stay healthy. So after calves come to the barn and they get their vaccinations, they'll also get an ear tag, like what we saw the cows wearing out in the barn. It's just a piece of rubbery plastic that's gonna go in their ear just like an earring. Every cow gets a number that's unique to them. They'll keep that number for the rest of their life. Just like we all have names, we also all have numbers. If it's a lunch number or social security number or something like that, numbers are an easier way to keep track and keep records. To get his tag, he'll also be given a pen of his own for about a month. He'll stay there and drink a bottle twice a day. We do that until we feel like the calf is strong enough that they're ready to go into a group of calves. We started raising calves in groups a couple years ago, and it's something we really like. We find that when they have a little buddy, they have someone to hang out with, it helps the stressful times in their life be less stressful. Cows are social animals. They want to be in a herd, they want to be with other cows. So by waiting about a month, we make sure that their immune systems are strong enough that when we put them in groups and they share germs a little bit, that they'll be strong enough to handle that and still be healthy calves. But they'll have the added benefit of having little buddies, and I think that they drink better and they just do better when they have other calves to watch and learn from. They'll stay in the barn 60 to 90 days before they're done drinking milk, and then he'll slowly move off of milk onto solid feed and continue on his journey to be a grown-up adult cow.